So time. Yeah, so you just had a kid, and time to edit, time to create. It's not the same as before.
It's not that it's not the same. It's just that I think it forces me to be efficient in the fact that in the sense that I would have times where I'm editing, I'd be procrastinating, doing this, that, and the other, scrolling on IG or whatever, and then I could boom, focus back up.
Right.
Now it's like if I'm home with my kid, he'll be there. Obviously, I gotta attend to him, watch him. If he's taking his nap, I gotta go. Okay, let me go ahead and edit something real quick.
Right.
And I don't have as much time, like you said, to really stare into space or do whatever. I have to really lock in, get on it, boom, and then boom, here I go. He's crying in the background. Let me get to him. So I mean, as far as that, and probably honestly just getting away too now, because now you think about it. I saw a meme the other day. It was like people with no kids be like, "You trying to go to Africa next week?"
Can't do any of that anymore, man.
And I mean, it's a learning curve, and it's taking some adjusting, but eventually I'll get back to the travel stuff. Traveling for work. But other than that, it's been good, man.
Yeah. No, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah.
Before I even get into all of that, so I like to start off usually by asking, what is your favorite camera? What you go to? Camera? What you go to? Mic? What you go to?
Camera gear.
Gear.
I like that. I'm a camera nut.
Yeah.
Tech junkie for real.
Okay.
But shoot, I would say my favorite camera. If I had to choose anything, or what I have.
The ones that you have currently.
Okay, so what I have right now, I have an FX3. That's my favorite camera to shoot with. Lens. Oh man, the lenses that I have, I would say I got a vintage Helios Russian lens, 58.
Really?
Yeah, it's a 58 f2.
Okay.
And it gives like a nice gritty look, dirty look. It's obviously Russian lenses or film lenses aren't very clean or whatnot. So
that's what you're going for.
Yeah, that's what I love. So I mean, that's preferably, that would be my favorite as far as like if I could do anything with it. But as far as like a work lens, probably right now the 24-105, the G Master.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's for Sony.
Yeah.
So you're a Sony guy.
Sony guy.
What body do you have?
I got the FX3, I got A7 IV, and I was thinking about getting the A7R4, but I think I'm good with the A7 IV.
I have the A7R4, I love it. I've been using that for photos for like 5 years.
Yeah?
For a long time.
Yeah.
And so you're in an interesting predicament because you're not only a creative, like you shoot video and photo, but you're also in front of the camera too. You're a model, you are an athlete. Like, how do you have the time for any of that?
Yeah, man. I mean, this is kind of how I got into this. From anything, it's like a funny story. It's like I got into camera stuff by accident, really.
Okay.
I was training when I graduated college, I was training for the pros or whatever.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to Michigan State and then I went to FIU as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Played football.
What position?
Receiver.
Okay, you're tall receiver.
I was like one of the big prototypes or whatever, the big 6'5", fat guy, whatever. But I was training for Pro Day and got invited to be an extra in HBO's Ballers.
I love that show.
Yeah, I got invited to that. Got to see The Rock do his thing. I was in the season finale of season 2. Check it out if you can see me. I pop up.
I'll put a clip in it.
I pop up smiling like twice. But and then I saw The Rock doing his thing, and I said, "Oh man, I want to like act. See if I can act, do some acting, whatever." And that led to me modeling. I met a photographer down here that was looking for some stuff, and did my first shoot, chilling, whatever. And I was like, it's kind of fun. Yeah. Ended up going to a Miami Visuals group, creative Visual Suspects. I don't know if you heard of the groups. It's like Visual Suspects is like a creative group in Miami full of photographers and things like that. I went to that and I was like, man, I don't want to be just a model at this thing because I'm not even a model yet. So I grabbed my sister's camera. It was a Canon T2i.
Canon T2i.
T2i with the kit lens. What is it? 18 to 55. 18 to 55. Yeah. Grabbed that and was like, boom, I'm out there shooting JPEGs, the flash is popping up.
ISO 8000.
Everything. I'm shooting on auto, everything. And then one of my boys, Zach Tasser, shout out to him. He was with me. I actually met him that day too. And he was like, yo, are you shooting on RAW? You doing this, that, and the other? And I was like, what are you talking about, bro? Man, that changed my life. I started, messing around with it and literally was like, okay, I took the camera home and was like, okay, let me learn as much as I can. Hit up YouTube University. And
YouTube University, the way to go.
Since then, that was like, 6 years ago now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you love the most about shooting? Like from your time from starting off to getting to now?
Man, you said what I love most about it? I would say, shoot, just the ability to create whatever you can, whatever you want, really. Just I love shooting the most, like actual production of it.
Mhm.
You know, pre and post is
Completely different.
horror stories for me.
Really?
Not horror stories, but
I said horror stories for a reason.
it's not horror stories, but I just dread kind of certain parts of the edit. You know, the boring parts of the edit, as far as like culling goes for video, for video purposes. But it's all fun. You know, I love most of everything about it. But I would say the creative aspects of it, and what made me really fall in love with the images and stuff, I was a bokeh. You know, bokeh, you know, I loved the whole 1.8, 1.2.
The bokeh, yeah.
Just doing that. And then I started to learn about composition and for film and stuff, blocking and all that stuff. So, I mean, there's just so many things about it.
Yeah, it's never ending. It's cool, like, how similar the beginnings of photography go, like for a lot of people, a lot of photographers. Because I remember my first camera was a T3i, and it was also by Quentin too. I was paying, I had a small supplement company at the time, and I was paying photographers to go and shoot with the models and with the athletes. And it was 600 here, 800 here, 1,000 here, and I was like, I can't afford to do this thing. So I went on OfferUp and I looked for a camera, and the first one that came up was the T3i, the kit lens. I said, I could be a photographer.
Yeah, you know?
And I got the cheapest camera I could find, and I started practicing with people who I used to work with. And then that's how it went off. So it's interesting how we all start off sort of like, it's not even, maybe not the full intention was to be a photographer, to be creative, but life sort of bends its will to you, you know, creating, you becoming that version of yourself. What's it like being in front of the camera compared to being behind the camera?
Oh man, I think front of the camera is, for me at least, it's completely easy. I mean, just to me. I mean, just because I grew up being that kid that wanted to be in front of the camera, you know, whenever I felt like I was the kid growing up where my grandfather, he recorded everything, recorded us doing everything all the time. So whenever a camera came on me, it was like showtime to me, you know what I mean?
It was natural.
Yeah, it just feels good, you know? So, I mean, anytime I get in front of a camera, like I said, it's like, it's a switch that hits and I'm like, okay, it's time to put on a show.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's also been some things that I had to learn. Like my first shoot, I was in my drawers. Like,
about your first shoot? I gotta hear this story.
So, with the first shoot that I was telling you about earlier, it was like one of my teammates came to me and was like, "Oh yeah, this photographer is out here. He wants to shoot some stuff and whatnot." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm down. Whatever. I'm down to be in front of the camera always." So he goes, "Oh yeah, so we're just gonna do this, and we ended up on the beach, actually up here in this area, on the beach, and I'm just in my Calvin Klein underwear, like chilling, or whatever. I think how old was I? I was 22, 23 at the time.
Okay.
But yeah, man, people was walking by, some old folks wanted to take pictures with me and stuff, like I was somebody famous. It was hilarious, bro. Hilarious.
So it was like an underwear campaign?
It wasn't even a campaign. It was just like a shoot, like
some creepy guy came up to you and was like, "Hey, take off your pants, let me shoot a."
Basically,
he said, "For sure, 100%."
Basically, and that's how stupid it was. Like at the same time, I was just like, "Hey, whatever," you know.
Yeah.
But
did you ever get those pictures back, or did they keep them?
Yeah, I got it.
Oh yeah,
I got it. Yeah. I sent it to you. It's some funny stuff, man. I mean, I thought I looked dope at the time, but it was funny just thinking back at it, like, you know, dang, I was really in my drawers out here on the beach.
Not a care in the world.
Yeah.
What's up? And did you continue to pursue modeling before you went into being more of a creative?
Yeah. I was just, I don't even know how I really. So some of the friends that I met during like the Miami Visuals group, the meetups and all that stuff, I told them too. I was like, yeah, hey, I'm a model, whatever. And they were like, yeah, you know, whenever we need somebody, we'll do it. So, and you know, a lot of people don't know male models like that. So it was kind of easy for them to just say, oh, I need a male model, boom, hit me up.
Right.
So yeah, it's been pretty consistent as far as working, as far as the model goes, and especially as an athlete, it was kind of easy to make that switch, you know.
What kind of modeling do you do? Like, what do you focus on? Fitness?
Yeah, mainly fitness, sports. That's my bread and butter, but I can do it all. I can do the fashion. Yeah, I can do the fashion stuff. I can, you know, I've been doing some acting stuff. I do like commercial stuff. So, yeah, man.
What's that industry like? 'Cause I don't know anything about that whole modeling industry from the front end, like being an actual model or being in front of the camera. What is that like?
From my experience, I would say it's a little different, just because, like I said, I do both. Let's say, because I'm not signed to an agency. I'm just a freelance model, and so I think that would have been a little different just going through that route. But yeah, man, it's been just the main thing has been for me is building those connections with photographers and filmmakers and stuff like that, just to say, hey, if you need somebody as either a shooter or a model, I can do it. I got you. But that's also pretty fun too, just learning how the similarities are on both sides when it comes to negotiating rates, thinking about things like licensing and all that stuff, because it's your likeness for the footage. So it's like, okay, it's the same. You have the same rights as a filmmaker or a photographer would have to the rights to their photo.
As the person who takes it, or as the person?
As the person who's the model, you're using my face for your business.
Right.
If you say you're going to use it for 10 years, I should be getting paid for those 10 years. That's what I've learned over the time. So, but yeah, it's been fun, man. I think and like I said, modeling for me is a lot easier just because I like to do that. It's like a natural thing for me to be in front of the camera and to just be, vibing and chilling, But yeah, man, that's been pretty much it.
That's super interesting. I actually you touched on an interesting topic when it came to knowing your rates as a photographer and also as a model. Being somebody who takes content and also being someone who has content taken of them, how do you negotiate jobs? Like let's say I'm a beginning photographer, right? I'm trying to figure out my rates. I'm trying to figure out how that whole exchange works. Like, what advice would you give to me?
Man, honestly, I'm right there with y'all. I'm right there with y'all. I swear I'm on that boat as well, like, because there have been times where I've gotten certain jobs, like even as I've gotten into the bigger gigs as well, the bigger commercial stuff and things like that, where you got to think about, things like having a team with you. It's not just you.
Right.
Honestly, I've just leaned on the community that I've worked with, and always touching on what. Okay, hey, look, I got this job. What do you think? Hey, I got this. What do you think? Just reaching out to people, and there's been some great people that I've worked with that have always helped me out. And say, shout out to Corey Jenkins, that's my boy. He helps me all the time, like helping me price stuff. Larry, I got a producer, my homeboy Larry Lee. He's a producer, so does that stuff all the time with.
Write them these names over.
Yeah, man, yeah. Shout out to all of them because they help me all the time with learning how to really price stuff and not, short myself,
How do you do it? Like, I know so many people who struggle with that. Even myself sometimes when it comes to getting proposals and accepting jobs.
Well, I would say, and what they would tell me is that at the end of the day, it needs to be that you're happy with whatever that number is for the amount of work that you're doing.
Right.
So, I mean, if you're fine doing a photo shoot for $200 and delivering 40 photos, I wouldn't recommend it, but if you're happy with that, then do it. But that's all it comes down to, and what you're worth. Know your worth, what you think, your work is worth. That's what you should charge. And if some people are gonna think it's too much, some people are gonna think it's not enough, and they're gonna hire you 100 times. If you're getting hired a rapid amount of times,
right,
should bump up that price.
Right.
That's how I would really see it. If you're saying, okay, my base price for, let's say, photography, just to keep it kind of vanilla, base price for like a beginner, $300, random number, throwing it out there. Okay, you're doing that, and then people are calling you back, more work. Then I think it's time to revisit that price and say, hey, I'm getting a lot of work here at this price point. Maybe I'm not charging enough. I should probably bump it up a little bit, and then see how it goes. But yeah, it's always a slippery slope, I guess.
No, yes, for sure. You made a story post, I think it was yesterday, and you was talking about not overbooking yourself. Like, where did that come about? Like, this is not a good issue to have, though. You're overbooked.
As far as that, yeah, it's a great problem to have. I would definitely say that, but at the same time, it's also I'm huge on protecting your mental health, your physical health, all things like that. So I mean, and especially when we're living in a time where hustle culture is such a big thing. Oh, hustle 24/7. I need to do this, get this money, get that. And me, especially now having a kid, you gotta find that balance, for yourself, for your business, etc., etc. So, it was with Carl Shakur. I don't know if you follow him, but yeah, he was like
out in LA, right?
Yeah, he was basically saying like his last month, September, was super busy month. He was all over the place, had like 15 flights or something like that, from here to London to Cali, whatever. And he was just talking about how he's pretty much going into burnout. It's coming soon. Like he knows it's coming. And I think that's how I avoid burnout, is that, you know, I make sure to make time for myself. You know, I don't want to be working every single day of the week, even though that's the entrepreneur lifestyle. Apparently, you have to do this, you got to work 24/7. Honestly, you don't have to, especially if you're charging what you need to charge, you know?
Right.
If you're getting paid $100 per shoot, you're probably going to have to do a few shoots a week, you know, just to make ends meet.
Right.
But if you're getting paid per gig what you're worth and what you think you should be doing, then you should be able to have time for yourself and not overbook.
Definitely. What do you think is the hardest part for you, like as a creative? Is it that whole balancing act of working and, you know, spending time for yourself, or is it like the creative process itself? Do you find it difficult to get started on a video or get started when it comes to editing? What do you find the most difficult?
Shoot. As far as the creative part, I think the part that I struggle with the most is hilarious. Is probably the easiest part, but it's the most tedious, and that's like, let's say I'm editing a video. Just the tedious work when it comes to edits. That's the part of the edits where I said I didn't really.
Yeah. Like, what do you consider tedious? I feel like
So like, let's say culling, when you're culling footage, picking all those shots, going through the hour of footage or so, whatever. Or if you're editing something longer, going through things like, you know, like I said, hours of footage. It's like,
you have to rewatch every single clip.
I gotta rewatch it. I gotta.
See what's usable, what isn't. Shit, this isn't focused. Oh, it's just too dark, too grainy over here. Okay, I want this. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it's definitely.
And then at the same time, let's take like a photo perspective, just going through those photos, and then depends on how deep you're getting into the edit, but let's say people that do like beauty.
Every wrinkle, every hair
the local dodge and burn, global dodge and burn, all this extra stuff, and I'm like,
Well, it gets to the point where you have to hire somebody to help you edit.
Exactly.
Like after a while, you can't. It's almost impossible to have 4 or 5 shoots a week and then 10 photos to shoot and then just the hours that you put on just editing skin tone. Not even colors yet, just skin tone,
bro.
And taking out, how do you say it? Manchas, taking out marks on the face and eyelashes and you know, it's such attention to detail that it takes to get one photo done. It's almost insane that people collab as much as I think they do.
Right. I think that was one of the things I told myself too. I was like, man, once I get to the point where I can just hire a full-time editor, I'm not even thinking about it. I'm gonna do it. You know, it's like
100%.
Just because that I feel like I prefer spending more of my time on the pre-production and production side, and then maybe just because there's a lot of editors that I know that just do dope work and that I can trust to do those things. So it's a no-brainer for me.
100%. So when it comes to because you shoot a lot with what's his name, Chris, who does videos, and he's super super dope too. And you've been in front of the camera for a lot of his work that I've seen before. That's incredible.
Which Christian Films?
Yeah, Christian Films.
Yeah, that's my boy. Shout out to him.
I've never met him in person, but I've seen his work for years, and he's so dope.
Yeah.
And again, I've seen a lot of work that you guys do together, and it's like watching a movie, man. And I'm watching this, and in my head, I'm like, how did they get the lighting like that? How did they get that angle? What cameras are on? Because there's so much that goes into it that people don't even realize.
Yeah.
That's like we were saying before. That's one of the reasons why I did this, because I wanted to give people who don't know about the whole production side an idea of how much work it goes into getting one shot. And how much work goes into even editing a 30-second clip. People think, 30 seconds, only 30 seconds, right? But a 30-second clip could take you 4 or 5 hours, right?
I've taken 4 or 5 hours on 3 seconds of a clip.
It's insane. It's insane, especially if there's something in the shot that you accidentally got in there that shouldn't be there, and removing an item. You know how hard it is to remove an item from a video?
It's ridiculous.
But I want to hear more about how you set up a shoot like that, like a big video production shoot, like. It goes to finding location and getting lighting and how many people are actually involved in the shoot. Because a lot of the time people think it's just the videographer and the talent. Nah, a lot of things go into it. Could you break down a little bit how that is?
Yeah, I mean, so people that don't know, that's not behind the camera, don't know that it truly is a team effort. It's crazy, like from beginning to end. So I would say, normally if it's a bigger shoot, let's say some of the bigger stuff that I've done, I would literally call one of my producers, have them get together with them, and we start to get the breakdown with the client.
For the people who don't know, what does a producer do?
So,
Like
I don't really know how to define. In my simplest form, a producer is the person who has all the connections. So they're the ones who put together the team to make a video, to make stuff happen. To my understanding, that's all I've known a producer to do.
Right.
But yeah, a producer, I'll call my producer, and then I'll say, hey, we got this work here, boom, 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 this type of video, this commercial for this client. We need 3 locations or whatever. We need, a DP. I'm gonna be the director. We need a gaffer, a grip, all the lighting tags and stuff. A DP, director of photography.
Okay, what is
so that's basically the cinematographer, the person who's in charge of where the lighting goes to make everything look pretty, and also just in charge of the camera stuff. So to say, okay, we're gonna use this lens for this camera, we should use this camera for whatever. Just basically everything that has to do with the look, they're in charge of that.
Like you said, grip too, right?
Yeah, the grip and the gaffers, they're in charge of like the lighting, equipment, the stuff like that. It's just the rigging everything up. So basically the director of photography or the cinematographer would be in charge of them as far as that goes. But you got stuff like assistant directors, PAs, everything, man. It's like, it depends on whatever you need, and your producer will tell you, okay, this is what we need for this, boom, 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 I can get that, and they'll make those calls to set it up all together. Also, they're in charge of, doing things like the call sheets, basically getting everybody in the same place at the same time. If we need a location manager, which is the person who's, self-explanatory, managing the location and things like that, we got that, but everything it's a team thing, man. It can get bigger and bigger from there,
People don't even realize half these things that exist on the set.
Man, when I first got started, I used to think it was just me running gun. Shoot, I can do it all myself, whatever. But then I started getting really into it and realizing, because eventually I want to get into doing some movie stuff, actual film stuff. And I would watch some of the BTS from some of the bigger films, man. They got hundreds of people working on it, man.
People don't even know what they're doing sometimes. They're just there, but they need to be there.
It's crazy, man. Yeah.
No, I love that because I think I was in the same boat too when I first started filming, because a lot of the things that I did was just me and the model and my camera and then running around and doing what I had to do.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I had to humble myself. Like, there are things that people do way better than me.
Right.
There are people whose only job is to find dope locations. There are people whose only job is to set up lights. There are people whose only job is to organize a set. And so being humble enough to know that I can do it all really allowed me to expand the kind of shoots that I did and expand the possibilities of being a better creative, because you have to be humble. Like, you can't do it all. You have to. And there are people who are so much better than you at editing and at shooting and at being model, and styling. There's so many things that you can't do. And then I think that the moment that you're able to outsource those other aspects of the shoot, the better you become as a creative.
Yeah.
Right. And I love watching. I follow a lot of Vogue photographers and movie directors, stuff like that. And when they put out that clip and they're adding, they're tagging all the people involved in that even the 30 seconds, they're tagging everyone involved. It's a whole list of people who are involved. Like, it's insane. There's 30 people on the set for a 20-second video and 5 photos. But those photos come out incredible. They come out something in my head, I'm looking at these photos, I'm like, how did you even come up with this?
Yeah. It's because you got a team behind you. You got a team. Like you said, just having those people is like, just think about that. Like you said, you might be good at one certain aspect of the creation process, but there's somebody else that's better than you here. There's somebody else that's better than you doing this. And bringing all those minds together and saying, hey, I think this would look dope with this. And let's say, for example, me, I'm set design. I'm terrible at set design. If I walk into a room, I'm going to look at it and say, okay, let's shoot. That's it.
White wall? That's my wall.
That's it. I don't have the... even look at my house. I'm not an interior designer or nothing like that. I'm still working on, design and things like that and decorating it, because those are the things that really make your set pop. What really makes the set look dope, and people are always looking at the shots and saying, oh man, these shots are so fire. But I'm like, okay, it wouldn't be fire without the set design. It wouldn't be dope without this whole lighting setup we had around it, because you don't see that in the end result. You have no clue what's going on in it. So So that's the biggest thing for me is learning that, putting the ego aside, because that was a thing too. You know, people want to say, "Oh, I did everything. I do this. I do that," but putting that ego aside and saying, "Hey, I need a team that can help me do all this," and then we create something fire.
And everything we just spoke about is all pre-production.
The pre.
It has nothing to do with the actual shooting. It has nothing to do with the editing that goes in after.
Yeah.
It's just setting things up. And
Yeah.
It's fascinating how big productions are, actually. And that people don't really see that because you just don't see it.
Yeah.
You see the final result and that's it.
And that's the hard part too, the pre-production. That's where all the hard work is really done. I mean, pre and post, but the pre stuff is, you know, you're getting everything together. So when you get on that location and you're spending all that money on location and people's time to work, the production is the easy part.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
the
shooting
easy.
is very simple. You storyboard everything, you storyboard every look and every pose, and at that point, But then you get into the editing portion of it. It's just.
And then the editing portion, if you have an editor and all that stuff, colorists and things, then it's easy too.
What do you recommend for people who are like a one-man show, like how you started off and how I started off? Like, what do you recommend for them to expand their horizons? Like, what should they look into adding onto their team first?
Shoot. Honestly, I would just say one by one. Like, let's say if you're gonna be, let's say for film, if you want to be a director, boom, okay, get you a DP, director of photography. So you might be a director who's good at storytelling and all these other things, but when it comes to actually creating the look of the actual set and the actual film, there's somebody probably better than you at that. You know, learning how to use light, manipulate light, do all those things. So I would say that would probably be a big one, and then kind of go from there, depending on
what kind of photographer, videographer you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you ever had any bad experiences on set before? Crazy experiences?
Let's see. I wouldn't say bad experience, but I would say it was actually fun. But I would say, because I don't really have too many crazy stories like that, but I would say my first music video shoot, we shot for, or it was my second. We shot for a French rapper named Oslon Froe. What's his name? Yeah, he's a dope dude. He's a hilarious dude, whatever. It wasn't really a story. It was just more like it was my first ever experience of working that long on a shoot.
How long was it?
Man, we had I want to say we had
You look tired.
we had I think we had a 4 a.m. call time just to get to our shuttles. And then we got to the shuttle buses or whatever, and they drove us up here, like in the Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood area. And then we didn't wrap until, I want to say, midnight.
Wow.
So.
Almost an entire day.
Yeah, I got home at like 3 o'clock in the morning the next day.
24-hour shoot?
Yeah,
Why
pretty
did it take
much.
so long?
I think it was just that they were trying to crunch everything into, I was a PA on this one, I was an assistant. And I think they were just trying to crunch everything into the one day, because we had like 4 different locations, different, scenes, different stuff like that. So it was kind of just trying to crunch everything into one, which it probably should have been multiple days or something like that, but
20 hours of shooting.
Yeah, and we were just getting started in this stuff, and the director and the DP were actually French too, so we didn't really know them and stuff like that. So it was a fun experience. Don't get me wrong, it's a hilarious experience.
What made it so fun?
Just the people that I was with. I was with my boy Zach, my boy Lee, a few of the other guys and stuff like that. There's a video he has of me where it was like reaching into like those late hours of the night, and we're like in between kind of a shot, and I'm just sitting there delirious, like singing, like I think I was singing like
in French.
No, yeah, because by that time I knew the song.
Oh, shit.
But I was singing like Footsteps in the Dark or something, like the Isley Brothers or something like that, and I'm just standing there like swaying in the air.
Yeah, Jesus, what was your job like as a PA? What did you have to do?
So the PA's job is the production assistant. So basically anything that has to do with like helping anybody on set. So if the set designer needs to move stuff around, help them out. Same thing with the gaffers and the grips and stuff. Anything with like food, helping out, things like that. Just helping with stuff, small stuff like that. But yeah, and then I think a lot of people who start as PAs, they want to be directors in the future or something. DPs, anything of that nature. So they take that time to kind of learn from the people around them.
Right.
And I think that's a great experience.
Right.
So anybody's looking to start, get into that. Become a PA maybe. Some people say don't do it because you're kind of boxing yourself in as a PA because people will think of you as the PA, you know.
Interesting.
But I think that's bull.
Yeah, I think you have experience wherever you can find it.
Exactly.
So when you have those big productions, and then you saw with Patricia recently, we're talking about her. Shout out to Patricia. When you're going from those big sets, just doing like a one-on-one photo shoot, right? Is it hard for you to reframe your head towards that situation, or do you still take the same mentality of the big shoot into a small one?
It depends. It depends honestly, because I think with the smaller shoots, it's a lot less stress, less pressure, I would say. So, and you're not having like, you know, clients on Zoom in the background saying, "Oh, we need to look like this. Oh, it looks a little grainy to me," but they're looking at a feed through Zoom, and I'm like, "Come on."
Oh, that happens a little?
Sometimes, yeah. A few things that we've been on where it's happened, but you know, it's no big deal.
Right.
But yeah, when you're just with, you know, one or two people, just the model or whatever, it's pretty dope just to, you know, have vibes and just creativity. And you're just able to slow it down, you know, too, because it's a little easier just to say, okay, I don't have a team of people that's looking at me like, okay, what do I do next?
It's more personal, definitely more personal with you and the talent.
Exactly.
And how often are you able to do like personal shoots like that? Do you do them often? Or are you mostly working behind the camera?
Now mostly I'm so I do more like the personal type stuff, more like to stretch my creativity.
Right.
So when I'm like, okay, I got something that I want to just do myself or whatever, I'll do that. So I'll try and do it maybe like once a month, and I think that comes with like I said, making time for yourself.
Right.
Just but I try and do it once a month and just get whatever ideas I have out and just see what happens. I might not even post it. I might not even. Sometimes I don't even edit it if it's just for fun, you know. Yeah. But usually I just do it like that.
I think it's. You tell me what you think too, because I'm in this spot right now where it's creating content for the sake of creating content, and then creating content for the sake of actually being creative and actually being able to take ideas and manifest them in real life. And I feel that content consumption is so rapid.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, if you're not putting out new content every day or every other day, you're being forgotten, or you're not keeping up with the times, with the trends. And if you look at TikTok, for example, TikTok is blowing up where it's so easy now and so quick to consume content, where it's like, it doesn't really matter how much work you put into it. All that matters is the next piece of work that you put out.
Yeah.
And so I find it hard sometimes to stay being creative, because I feel like I'm just dumping out content because I have to.
Yeah.
Or because I got to make money off it, or because you're only as good as your last video, your last photo.
Yeah.
Do you find that struggle too?
No, I feel like that's more of a thing that it's like a social media type of
Definitely.
Stress or pressure.
Definitely.
At least from my perspective, you know, and thankfully I don't care for social media, honestly. Like, cool. You know, I think it's a great way for people that are already into it. Like, it's a great way to get business and you know, obviously increase your revenue if you're getting paid for it, whatever. But you know, for me, the stuff that I'm looking to get into, you know, you look at a lot of the people that are doing big in that industry, as far as directors, cinematographers and stuff, they don't have any Instagram following. Some of them don't even have Instagram.
Right.
And you know, they go like the Sundance and all that type of stuff, the film festivals and all that. That's the route I'm trying to go, you know.
Right.
And when I look at it, it's social media has nothing to do with how those people perform and how they're how do I say this, and how they're you know, perceived as a creative, you know. So I kind of prefer that route, you know. It's cool to, I even tried to keep up with like doing the IG reel trends for a little bit, but then I had my kid and I was like, all right, I don't care for that anymore. But yeah, as far as me, I never really have succumbed to like outside pressure or put that pressure on myself that's not needed.
Very cool.
So yeah, I mean, it's all about whatever your perspective is like, you know, when it comes to that.
Well, I like how you said that though. Like, these big directors and these big PPs, and they don't have social media like that. So then how do they get up there? How do they put their names up there? How do they continue being found?
Well, a lot of them, from the research that I've done trying to get to where they are, you know, a lot of them went that film school route. So they ended up being around those people already who were into filmmaking and creating those films and doing all that stuff. And then they went the agency route and et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, somebody like me who didn't go to film school, just learned through YouTube University, I've had to make it a point to get myself actually out there. And as far as like, I'm showing up to film events, I'm showing up to those networking events, I'm showing up and introducing myself. I'm not just there sitting around, you know, trying to be, you know, a shy person like I normally am. So that's been the most important, you know. Social media is obviously a big thing to do, like, you know, if you can go viral or whatever. But as far as the film space, you know, because you can't post a movie on IG.
True. Whatever.
Yeah, so as far as that goes, yeah, just getting around those people that are in films at those events and kind of making my name known. You know?
Are there like networking events that you go to? Like, how do you find them?
It started out with those Miami Visuals Group events.
Dude, that's still around, the Miami Visuals Group?
Yeah, we're like 180 strong. Yeah.
Whoa, I'll have to check that out. I've never heard of it.
My boy Zach created it, and it's a bunch of people when it comes to like directors, DPs, things like that. There's all types of creatives in that chat and in that group. I'll send you the invite too.
I'd love to go. Yeah, it sounds amazing.
I'll send it to you. It's for a bunch of like photographers, videographers, filmmakers, things like that, and we just bounce stuff off of each other and say, hey, what do you guys think about this? Or hey, how do I do this? Like, you know, we teach each other all the time, learning stuff, and I think it's cool that, you know, we have that community that allows us to really, you know, when we're stuck. The same thing with pricing. Oh, hey, I got this shoot with this, and this. What do you guys think you charge, you know? And people will bounce their ideas and say, hey, this is what I would normally charge, you know, but it depends on whatever, etc. But yeah, that's basically, I find those events, like say, even things like Eventbrite or just looking at like certain film or art festivals, you find them. Sometimes I would have to travel because, you know, all the West Coast stuff has all the film.
Yeah.
But any way I can, I'm gonna get to those things.
What's your ideal situation? Let's say you're looking back at this conversation 20 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
Where would this person be in their career?
Oh, man. So
like, what are your
dreams? I think my main goal would be to be that director. You know, I look up to a lot of directors that are great. I've studied them, like the Ryan Coogler's.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Black Panther 2's coming out. I believe he's a director in that. Yeah, that's gonna be dope.
He did the Creed movies too, right?
Yep, yeah. He did the first two, I believe, and I think somebody else did the third. I think Michael B. Jordan directed the third.
Get out of here.
Yeah. Don't quote me on that, but I believe I heard that at one point that he was a director in that as well. But you know, directors like that and the older directors, the Tarantinos, the Wes Andersons, I look at them and I'm like, man, I think I could do that one day. You know, I really believe I could do that, and it's come down to just me learning every day, because obviously it's so much to learn, especially when you're the director and you're in charge of hundreds of people, you know. But
money too.
Absolutely, and then you got that adds the pressure. You know, you got, you know, people adding the money on that stuff, and yeah, it's a thing. But you know, I got the belief in myself that I can do it, and I'm taking the steps now, and I'm just feverishly working every day just to learn. And just not post just to post. I've been learning to really have intention with what I'm creating. You know, just I have a daily writing challenge that I do because I want to write my own films too. I don't just want to pick up a script and direct it. I want to actually create my own stories and write them. So 20 years, I'm thinking, yeah, we got to have some
few movies under the belt.
Yeah, a few under the belt, you know.
What's the last thing that inspired you to create? Like, what's the last piece of art that you saw where you're like, wow, I'm really inspired, I want to write or I want to shoot or...
Oh, man, that's a tough question right there.
Because I think like us, we don't see things the way a person who isn't behind the camera would see it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking at you right now, I'm seeing your shadows, I'm seeing where the highlights are. It's natural.
Yeah, I was looking too.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it in my head. Like when I go edit, I gotta make sure the light's on me. You know,
yeah.
I gotta make sure the light's different. And even anything that I see, I'm looking at shadows and saturation. I'm like, it's really bright over there. I wish I could turn it down over there.
Yeah.
We see things as creatives, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we can be inspired by anything. We can be inspired by a plant if it's in the right light, right?
Yeah.
So what was the last thing that inspired you? And you just looked at it a couple seconds longer than you normally would. Anything else?
Man, so I not something that I've seen in real life. I had a dream. So I try and write as much as I can. So anything I can write down, I do. And I write down my dreams, the ones that at least I can remember in the morning. but there was a dream about, it was like a, almost not even like a dream, it was more like one of those sleep paralysis type things.
It's going to a horror movie. It started out really good.
So it wasn't like it was the weirdest thing because it wasn't like a weird, like, it wasn't like a scary sleep paralysis. It was more like a wow type of, like, what was that type of thing, you know? But it had to do with like a wolf, like a white wolf, like running across the room, and it just kind of made me think about something like sci-fi type of thing to think about. But I wrote a little passage about it. So far, I haven't done anything with it or anything. But yeah, that's where a lot of my ideas come from. Dreams. I'll be walking down the street, I'll see something, and I'm like, dang, I could turn that into a commercial, a film, a movie. And it's not that I even look for it everywhere. It's just that my mind is kind of wired that way now.
Yeah, 100%.
To kind of think about, dang, I could really turn that into something. So I mean, just finding inspiration in everyday things is kind of dope.
Yeah, it's super dope.
Yeah.
When was the last time you created something like based off a dream or an inspiration? Like where you said, you know what, let me just act upon this vision I got.
Let's see. I would say, okay, so this one wasn't like a grand creation. So the reels that I was doing, like for fun.
Yeah. I'm very upset, by the way, about those reels.
Why are you upset?
You didn't finish them. You didn't. You got me all hyped up. I got all excited. I want to know how to model now, how to pose, and nothing.
Oh, you're talking about the how to pose
Yeah,
model? Okay.
I'm still mad.
Okay, so I got a few of those in the works right now too. I got about 3 more of those that I've filmed already, so I need to edit and post up. But I actually want to turn a few of them into the YouTube stuff. But don't get me on the YouTube because I haven't even. It's been about a good 7 months.
The bar's higher right now, man.
But so I think the last reel, was it the last reel I posted? Yeah, the last reel I posted was about the laundry, procrastination. It was like a thing where everybody has like a chair in their house with the laundries and the clean laundries that they haven't folded yet. And I did a small little short funny thing about it. But just little things like that, I feel like, and that helps me as well just because not everything has to be here as far as like my creative stuff. I create because it's fun. Right. I create because I enjoy doing it. I love it. And you know, everything doesn't have to be $1 billion movie type quality. Right. So that was probably the last thing that I created, the laundry procrastinator, I called it. Right. It's you know, check it out. I did it, you know.
No, I think I love that because it goes back into sort of what we started off talking. Like it took me a year to post my first episode of the podcast. And it was because I just didn't feel like it was good enough to even post.
Yeah.
And the person who I was interviewing, shout out to Ron, he was like, bro, post it,
Yeah.
you know? And it took me a year just because I wasn't happy with everything, just myself, the video, whatever. And it takes a while, and I think we get frozen as creatives to want to put out perfection.
Yeah.
Right, instead of making progress. And that's something that I always ingrain in myself, like it's progress over perfection because you're never going to be perfect and you're never going to like everything 100%. Like I don't know if it's happened to you, but I'll edit a photo. I'll spend all day editing a set of photos and wow, I'm really happy with this. I'll go to bed, I wake up the next day, I look at the photos, trash. All of it.
All the time, bro.
Or I edit a video and I spent 4 hours finding a song for the video.
Yeah, and then you're like...
You put it together, you're like, I don't like it.
Yeah.
We're struggling for this perfection that's never exists, and we can do amazing work and we're never gonna be happy with it.
Yeah, I think that's okay. So now that you said that, I'm thinking about it a lot because a lot of my videos that I've done with Corey or Chris have been based around that self-doubt, imposter syndrome, because I've struggled with that this whole time trying to be a creative and things like that. It's like, man, you gotta really just let it go and say, who cares, like, whatever. You know, and you're gonna get better at it as far as you go, progress over perfection. Just thinking about that, I have a lot of things that I've written that are based on overcoming that self-doubt and that little person on your shoulder that's saying, it's not good enough, or you're not good enough, or why do you think you should be doing this? That's a huge thing, man. You just gotta really, what makes that kind of go away is that progress. So taking each step, because it's not just, oh, one day I decided to be a director. Now I'm over here directing the Black Panther.
Right.
It's gonna be, you know, okay, I made this crappy video. Okay, boom, I posted it, or I didn't post it, whatever. I created it though. Next week or next day, another video. Boom, next one. And then when you look back, you're like, damn, I've done some stuff here. I've created something that I actually am proud of. And because if you look at my old videos with the T2i, I'm looking at it and I'm like, yo.
And you thought you were the shit back then.
What? And I'm telling you, my homies was like, yo, this is dope.
So
I need a video.
Yo, your homies are your worst people to take advice
Man,
from. They'll gas you up like crazy.
I'm telling you.
And I'm ready to go to Sundance right now and show this video to the world.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So just keep creating that stuff and keep learning, keep asking, never stop asking questions, because like we said, in this film and creative space, there's so many things you need to learn. You're never done learning. So just looking at that and creating that team, building things, and just creating dope stuff is what's really going to break you out of that kind of imposter syndrome. So
no, I love that. It even helps me. I'm sure it's going to help somebody else out too.
Oh yeah, bro.
It's a real thing.
Yeah, man.
I know so many people who've stopped creating because of imposter syndrome.
Absolutely.
They didn't feel like they were good enough for some reason, and you're never going to be good enough, right? I think it's not up to you to club me. No, I gotta be careful how I phrase this. I feel like the great actors and directors and models and all these great people that we look up to, they're great because we think they're great.
Yeah. Right.
But we wouldn't think they're great if they didn't put out the work that they're doing.
Yeah.
Right. And we're not gonna like everything they do, but the ones that really impact us are the ones that we take inspiration from, and the ones that cause us to call them great.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not up to us sometimes to be great or to think that we're great. I think it's great to keep saying great, but I think it's amazing to feel that you're a great director, a great creator, whatever.
Yeah.
But when other people are saying that about you, it's a different level, I think.
Exactly. I think even I was looking at one of the actors roundtables on YouTube.
I love actors roundtable.
Yeah, I was looking at that, and it was Peter Dinklage, Tyrion Lannister. He does a bunch of stuff, but he was saying that talking about how even him, like we said, I look at him and he's great actor, amazing actor. And he's still talking about how he was talking about how he had an audition like a few months ago before that round table, and he was terrified.
It's intense to think about.
And it's like, because he's having that, self-doubt, how should I even be here? And I'm like, bro, you have a career this long, and you're still struggling with that. So it just made me think, like, dang, people are they're scared, but they just do it scared, man. And
you do it scared.
And then you look back and you're like, dang, I'm happy that I did it. Because I would much rather do it and fail than to not do it at all. So
100%.
Yeah.
Are we gonna see more work in front of the camera in the next few months?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I got a lot of stuff in front of the camera, behind the camera. I got a lot of stuff that I've been writing in the works. I even have a few just spec ads that I want to do for fun.
What's a spec ad?
A speculative ad is basically it's like a mock ad. Okay. So say if I had a Vans commercial that I wanted to do with the homies, whatever, and Van's not paying us, nobody's paying us. We just do it. It's a passion project. Yeah.
That's what I call them. Okay.
Yeah, and then people take those, and then you might put it into a reel. So let's say if you're getting started and you don't have a reel to show to clients to get you to pay them to pay you $50,000, $10,000, whatever. Okay, boom. You need to prove that you can do it.
Right. So
you do that for free or whatever
for yourself.
And then boom, you put it in your reel, and you got something there. So even now, I'm still in that process of still doing spec stuff, and it's just a fun time to be able to work with creatives, and it also gives you that experience working with the team before because nobody's just gonna pay you for your first directing gig when you've never directed anybody. You know what I mean? Right. So yeah, I got a few of those on the way, and just some short film stuff I'm working on. So.
There we go.
Doing a lot of writing.
Some more YouTube videos on how to pose, man.
Oh man, it's coming. So after we finish this, I'm gonna give myself a deadline. I'm not gonna say the time right now, but because if I say it on camera right now,
I'm gonna post the last part. That's gonna be the promo.
I'm gonna give myself a few weeks though, and see how, because I usually write it down. I always put the dates on my stuff and say, okay, it needs to be done by this time. Because if I don't put a date on it, it's probably
not gonna happen.
Yeah,
I'm the same way.
So I'm gonna get a few of those out, and then see where we go.
I have your notifications on, so I'm gonna make sure you post that. But brother, I really appreciate you coming down. I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate the knowledge, and I appreciate the experience, man. So Thank you so much for this.
Appreciate you for having me, my guy. Appreciate it, bro. Always, man.
Thank you, brother.